Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sales and Marketing Rebel Workshop, where we're going to be talking today with Brad Herda about mission, vision, value, and purpose statements. So, this workshop is going to be every first Tuesday of the month from 11 until 12 Central Time. It's also going to be recorded, so you can also watch it in the vault if you have to pop out early, or if you want to recommend this to somebody who's in the Idea Collective. Okay, so the reason we're calling it a Rebel Workshop is because I want you to think differently about sales and marketing. Sales and marketing is not the same as it used to be, especially post, let's just say, last 2 years. So we really need to think differently about sales and marketing. The reason we're calling it a workshop is you guys need to have pen and paper with you, because this is something that as we go through the questions that Brad's going to be answering, I want you to write it down from your perspective. Like, how does it apply to you and your organization? This is not just something you sit and listen to. You're going to definitely participate. The other thing we call it a workshop is at the end, each month, each speaker is going to walk you through, somebody on the call, walk through the exercise of the topic of the month. So EB, last month, we talked about her ideal client. And so this month, we're going to take a volunteer and talk about how to build a statement that Brad's going to be talking about today. So before we get too far along, I would like to thank our amazing sponsors, Bang59 and Quick Trip, for sponsoring the Idea Collective. Without them, we would not be here. So I could tell you about our wonderful guest, Brad, but I'm going to let him do that yourself. Yeah, so Brad,
because that's what
tell us a little bit about yourself.
It's the most important thing I love doing is talking about myself, not so much. So yes, I am the founder of Vision Forward Business Solutions. I went out in 2016 to start my business, supporting blue collar businesses in finding ways to create transferable wealth, creating opportunity to bring Gen Z into the marketplace and build sustainable businesses that may be able to create that absentee owner situation. And today's topic, and I see Brent's got his question in the, teed it up as the straight guy in the chat room there as to what's the why. And I am very confident we will have that question answered before the end of the day as to why these things are important.
Exactly. So before we go any further, for those of you who don't know me, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Lisa Rabel, the founder, speaker, and chief storyteller at Rebel Girl Marketing and your monthly host. So, all right, mission, vision, value, purpose statements, right? That's why we're here today. So I ask every guest every month, what does marketing mean to you? Which I know Brad's going to love this question. So what does marketing mean to you, Brad?
The smartass answer is it's black magic. The real answer is that it creates better sales opportunities, better conversion opportunities, and better brand awareness out in the marketplace. Marketing is not selling. Marketing is awareness and opportunity for what others think about you and what happens in that process, not what you say about you.
Exactly. So in the know, like, trust, this is how I describe it. The know and the like is marketing. And from the like to the trust when they buy, that's sales. So that's how I describe it to my clients. So in the know, like, trust concept, know and like marketing, like to trust, sales. Okay. So there are two schools of thoughts about how to handle mission, vision, value, and purpose. Like, do we put employees first or do we put customers first? So as business owners, what's more important, customers or employees?
And that is a question that every business owner needs to answer for themselves, because that's going to dictate how you run your business. And that's going to also dictate whether or not that mission, vision, values, who that resonates with, right? Are you trying to resonate with your customers? Or are you trying to resonate with your employees to create that environment? If you're an online business, it may be towards your customers because you're a solopreneur and that's it. It doesn't really matter. It's what you are and what the brand might represent, not necessarily the employee side of it. So I'm a believer of take care of the employees take care of customers, and then customers take care of the business. That's my personal belief and bias. That's not always the case in the corporate world or for organizations that have employees as well. That wasn't the case growing up in my In in a couple of the organizations I worked for, they were more focused on the customer and the publicly traded. So it was all about what does the stockholder get in return. It wasn't about the employees. It wasn't about the customer. It was about the return on investment. That was always a struggle, but as a leader, it was what can I do for the people, and that's where you get that differentiation.
Right. I grew up in that same thing. I cut my teeth in corporate America, and it was all about the almighty dollar and are the stockholders happy? And then every trickles down from there. Always disagreed with that concept, but again, that's why you and I get along. All right. So you love talking about mission, vision, values, and purpose statements and the creation of them. So as business owners, what gets you so pumped up about helping business owners create these statements for their businesses?
Well, for me, the values are what's really key. And when we talk about values, I look at them as core values. The 4 or 5 things that you will never, ever, ever deviate from in your business, right? You see integrity is one of the values that is populated all over the place. Can't swing a dead cat without finding a company that has integrity as a core value. But when they come down to actually doing the work and doing their business and negotiating contracts or delivering on their promises or communicating with their customers, it's probably the furthest from the truth. So when I work with clients and they say, oh, integrity is one of our core values, I'm like, bullshit. It's not. What part of integrity is really part of the things that you will never ever deviate from, and break it down from there. And when you know those values and you know what you're going to live up to, it makes it very easy for everybody else to understand what's happening. When you have employees, many cases the ownership has one set of values, but the employees have another completely different set of perceptions of what the organization is. And if you're conducting employee surveys, those surveys are going to be the key as to what the values really are of your company, because they're the ones interacting with the customers. They're the ones making the orders. They're making the calls. They're doing those things. And you can find a big gap there and resolve a lot of issues, particularly if you're having a lot of turnover, having difficulty to hire, finding opportunities for people to grow. Because we leave organizations if our values don't align. At the end of the day, that's why we leave. It's not because of we say it's money, but at the end of the day, we're looking for other money because our values aren't aligning and we're not getting the rewards out of that job or that company.
Yeah. I'm assuming everybody would agree with that, as we're all sole entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of our own businesses, that at some point in time, there was an organization that we went, yeah, that's not going to work for me. I'm going to do it myself. Right. So like a toddler, I do it myself. I know a better way to do it. So that's great. So I love the fact that, there are 4 things. They're very distinct, right? Mission, vision, value, and purpose statements are 4 very specific different things. Yes.
They are. They're not all weighted equally though.
Okay.
From my perspective, right? So I think values are a must for every business owner and for every business organization to clearly define them and live them, because it creates your roadmap and provides you a decision matrix for how to react and or behave in situations when they arise. So I think values are very, very important. The vision of where you're wanting to go and what you want to be when you grow up is also really, really important, because that guides you down that roadmap. It gives you that destination, right? I have the vision of being retired in Florida, or whatever it looks like. You can build that roadmap to go do that. The purpose and mission, those 2 get very cloudy in my mind at times, and pick one or the other, call it whichever. And I'm okay with that, right? Why you do what you do and what you are ultimately trying to achieve is really important. So my purpose or mission is to positively impact 1,000 blue collar families in southeastern Wisconsin in the next 5 years by working with my clients, right? That's what I want to accomplish. And that's an important piece. So when I talk with people, like, oh, okay, cool. It gives them and resonates with them to understand what I'm trying to accomplish.
So if you're going to pick one of those 4, which one would you focus on first? Because you got to start someplace.
Values, 100%. I'd start with values.
Okay. And then what is a good resource for them to learn how to create, if they haven't done their values yet? What is a good resource for them to go and to figure out what those values are? Because that's not something you can do in a workshop. That's something that takes time and energy and thought and process to be able to do something like that.
There are a lot of online resources that you can go out and they give you the list of values. I can provide, we have in our programming, we have worksheets with 50 different lists of values across the alphabet to go forward, to figure it out. The big question you have to ask yourself when you start looking at your values is, what are you not going to deviate from? Not just, this sounds good, right? You may have a great value of, I'll pick integrity again, right? So integrity is do what you say what you do. That might be your key value, but the underlying cause truly might be honesty, and it might be reliability. Break it down to figure out what those other words are, because that can create differentiation for you along the way. And it makes it easy to be able to communicate that to others. Because when somebody says, oh, our corporate values are integrity, they're going to go, yeah, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah. But one of my core values is honesty and transparency, which can be two different things, but I am honestly transparent, and I'm transparently honest, in my opinion, with my clients. I'm not going to say something to them because that's what they want to hear. I'm going to say something that they might not want to hear, but I think is the truth, and it's open for discussion. And so that's definitely one of the values that I have. Now, I know
and they can change, and values can change over the course of, time, potentially, depending on where you are in your life cycle. Right? Sometimes we get older and we don't give a shit anymore. So honesty becomes much more blunt because we don't care. We're going to be far more honest than we are going to be maybe consoling as part of our core values, or nurturing instead. We might have been very nurturing when we were younger, and now all of a sudden our core value might be more honesty versus nurturing along the way. For me, it took me about 2 years to really get to my core values, which are the pillar of my business, which is purpose. And unfortunately, I'm doing exactly what I didn't want to do, because I needed an I to make it the pillar of my business. So I have integrity in there, which is complete big no-no, which do as I say, not as I do. Learning, loyalty, authenticity, and responsibility. But I needed the I because I had the two L's, and I'm like, oh, if I find an I can make this say pillar, and it'll be easy for me to remember as well. So.
Okay, Nikki asked a really good question. She asked, do values always have to relate to your customer, or can they be related solely to how you want to run your business? For example, one of mine is autonomy, which is what I want personally for my workspace.
So are you always going to work in autonomous mode? Are you always is that going to be your default position? Or is it going to be more about collaboration so that you can be autonomous?
I don't know. For me, you're asking me, right, to answer. It's not just rhetorical, because we were on mute. I didn't know if this was a conversation yet.
Always a conversation.
Okay.
Always.
So, I mean, this is from the perspective of a public school teacher where I was micromanaged. So that's why autonomy is important to me.
Okay. Perfect. Then that's a fantastic value to have, and it probably resonate a lot with your customers.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? We want the autonomy to develop our own curriculum that conforms to whatever the education standards are.
Okay.
Right. That's an easy one to blend into your business model.
Sure.
One of the things I did when I did my value statement was we obviously crossed out the words that didn't resonate, and then we circled the ones that did, and then you have to get it down again, right? So if you had to pick only for what would they be, and then the way that my friend had us do it is she had us do if you had to write one sentence with that word in it, what would that sentence be? And then that relates to you. And then how does that relate to others? How does that relate to other people? So it's you could do that autonomy both internally and externally in that content, in that language, which actually is, Nikki, thank you, is a very good segue to what I was saying next. So one of the things that we're going to do with Brad is we're going to talk about helping somebody make their purpose statement. And so I'm going to put a couple things in the chat for you guys. First of all, I'm going to put the link after I'm done reading this excerpt from an article I found in Gallup. If you don't follow Gallup and get their emails, I recommend it. Not always will they resonate with you, but they have amazing research. They do all the work, and then you can just use their stuff. So this one's called, Is the Great Customer Resignation Next? Again, this was out last week by Gallup, and I'll put the link in the chat. This is an excerpt. It says, as promises mount, expectations rise. Rising expectations without rising capability can lead to disaster. In fact, a credibility crisis is already here. A common mistake leaders make as they define a purpose in a boardroom rather than aligning a purpose with employees and customers' perspectives. The goal is to discover the value and beliefs that matter most and use stakeholder language that will resonate best with those ideals. The outcome is a purpose that resonates on an emotional human level, a purpose that customers can connect with and employees can be proud of. Now, that's just a small excerpt of that. And that's the whole point of what Brad is talking about here, is that what you want to do, which Nikki was a great segue, is that it can be internal, but it also can be used external, which is why we're talking about it in the sales and the marketing perspective. So with that said, we can use it as internal language and external language. So Brad, do you want to talk a little bit about how, as you create these statements, you can use them in your marketing and also within your internal communications?
Yeah. So for a lot of my clients, right, in fact, in the entire employment market right now, there's 11 million jobs that are sitting open. And I deal a lot with the trades, and there are the highest number of trades career opportunities that are out there right now ever in the history of the United States. That was just published by the National Home Building Association last week. And none of these guys know how to attract or retain people because they've not ever done this work, right? So going in and talking with, a manufacturing guy or a electrician about, hey, you need to know your mission, vision, values, and purpose. There's the door. Let it hit you on the ass on the way out. Don't come talk to me about this. I don't have time for that. I'm way too busy. But then when they go try to recruit and retain and hire people, today's world's changed. They want to be people want to be part of something bigger than just themselves. They want to know why we're doing what we're doing. And that millennial and Gen Z crowd has transformed the employment market greater than the Xers and boomers will ever realize. And it is so important to make that adaptation. So I deal a lot with Xers and boomers, which comes into that generational piece. And they got to articulate those words. And it's really hard for them because they find it as braggadocious. They find it as, this is just what we do. We don't need to tell everybody what we do. This is just what we do. And it's really important to let people know what it is you do and why you do it, which is what your purpose is, which is why my purpose is to support 1,000 blue collar families here in Southeastern Wisconsin in a positive way by creating jobs or whatever that might look like. Brent's purpose might be very different, right? His purpose might be, to take 700 businesses from incubator to, bankable in 3 years, right? That might be his purpose along the way. I don't know what his purpose is, but that could be what his purpose is. And it's very important to let people know what that is. So if he ever decides to hire or go forward, oh, this is what we do. And why we're trying to achieve and get to and develop that roadmap. Does that make sense to everybody or not? Or am I talking in circles? Because I'm getting nodding heads and bobbing heads. Looks like some chalupa dogs, right? Sitting out there in a Taco Bell commercial. Just okay.
Are there any questions based on that? So Brent, why don't you ask that question off mute?
Yes, Brad, I love your summary of my purpose statement. I'm learning about myself as I go. So thank you for that. How would you differentiate that purpose statement from a mission statement? Because to me, it sounded close to what I've heard people say on a mission statement. So
they're close. Mission tends to be more focused on tactical, right? Like the Mission Impossibles. Here's the mission. We're going to go get this one thing done and move forward. And a mission may fit within the purpose. The mission should support the purpose, not necessarily the other way around. If that makes sense.
Share your mission and your purpose statement, like an example of each one.
So I don't have a mission statement. I'm gonna be very honest because it's like I'm not large enough as an organization, right? So if you go to, let me find it here.
Well, Brad, the next thing we were going to talk about anyway was the fact that, giving an example of how you've helped a client with this process. And what did that look like both to the employees, the leadership team, as well as to the customers? So maybe instead of, if obviously you can share yours, obviously, but if you maybe want to give an example. So Nikki, you're segueing me very, very nice today. Thank you so much for showing up. You are like on spot. I didn't even send you my notes.
Hey, maybe it's the teacher in me. I just have a plan.
Exactly. So, okay. So Brad, why don't you share yours, but then maybe walk into that whole concept of like, what did it look like for a client that you helped? Give an example.
Yeah. So going through, I just did this for a client, going through their mission, vision, values, purpose as part of their strategic plan. And, asking them some of those things, and some of the response backs I got for purpose, right? To offer superior product in a timely fashion at fair market value. Provide high quality screening media, wear parts, and knowledge to customers in the aggregate industry. That was their purpose. When I started looking at their mission, where is their mission statements? Oh, I apologize for this. Should have this already brought up. Lisa, you should have had me better plan for this. Killing me.
I can only do so much, Brad.
I know. Let's see here. We had. Where is the vision?
Okay, while you're looking,
Yeah,
can I make a couple of comments?
Go ahead. Yep, be my
Okay,
guest.
you
Please
look. All right.
Bail me out here.
So what happens is that in my job too, like I go walk people through the Simon Sinek why, right? It's not about what you do, how you do it, but that golden circle of like why you do it. And so one of the things that I've realized recently is that, and I just said it one day and I didn't even realize it was my purpose statement, is that I help small businesses stay in business by using great marketing. Like that's my purpose statement. Like my purpose is to help small businesses stay in business by using the marketing and sales tools that I give them. Another statement that I have for a client of mine who is a roofing contractor, and theirs is, it's more than just a roof. It's what protects your people and your business, right? So it's you can use these statements externally, but they're also internally too. Like, so that last roof statement was the fact that like he sends all of his people out with like, you have to realize your job is very important because what you do protects lives. It's not just about being a roofing contractor. And then he talks about businesses because it's like, you have to do the business aspect of it because it's what protects the people that you work for you and all the resources inside that building. And so it's like, you can use it for internal and external marketing purposes. And I think Brad is ready now.
Yeah. So the mission, right? The purpose of a mission statement is to mention what your company strives to achieve and deliver. So as an example, Google's mission statement is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Right? That's their mission. That's not necessarily their purpose. That's their mission. Tesla, their mission is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. Their mission isn't to make more cars. Their mission is to have sustainable energy, which becomes a much bigger in scope, bigger ideas from that mission perspective.
And then how does that affect leadership, do you think?
It gives them a roadmap on where to go, and it gives them some guidelines on what to do, and it lets employees know what's happening along the way. Whereas the vision, describes the desires in the long run. As an example, so Costco's vision is a place where efficient buying and operating practices give members access to unmatched savings. Right? They want to make sure that people have access and they can save money with that access to do it because they're able to buy more efficiently.
It also helps with recruiting as well. And so that internal communication is you can craft questions, even if you're hiring a 1099, like a VA or somebody like that, right? Because if they have any communications with your customers, you want to make sure that they align, not just professionally the way they act, but also just their mission, vision, values, the way they align as well. So it doesn't matter if you're hiring a 1099 or a W-2, these statements are absolutely positively going to affect the conversation that you have in that recruiting process.
Yeah, and then the purpose, one of the ones that I did some research on when I was doing the strategic planning event, Kellogg's, nourishing families so they can flourish and thrive. That is their purpose, is to nourish families. Not necessarily about making profit or doing all those things, but nourishing families. I thought that was a very interesting purpose statement. And when I look at it from an employee perspective, when you start thinking about all their employees, how they do that, how they make it better, how do they do what's, do we find different ingredients from their chemists to make it more nourishing and less, words we can't pronounce and all those other fun things, to stay within their purpose. And if it gets thrown down in the boardroom because they're doing something else, then we have a disconnect between employee and leadership. And that's where things get really ugly.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we do each month at the Sales and Marketing Rebel workshop is that the speaker, the guest, is going to provide one-on-one coaching and facilitating of the topic that we have at hand. So EB, thank you for putting your mission in the chat. Does anybody else want to walk through 3 questions with Brad to talk about how they can start working on their mission, vision, value, purpose statement? I think the specific one that we're going to do today is for purpose, correct, Brad?
Correct.
Okay. Is any volunteers?
I'll volunteer. I'm feeling brave today.
Excellent.
Thank you, Brent.
I haven't been herded in a while, so it's been like a week, so I'm ready.
Wow. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So I'm putting the questions in the chat so everybody can follow along.
Right. So yes, all truly successful entrepreneurs have an overarching purpose in their business and a genuine desire to serve others through their business. So what is the purpose of your business and career?
I appreciate you saying that. And originally I wasn't sure I needed a mission, vision, purpose statement until you stated what a potential purpose statement could be. And then I'm like, aha, I think it's why I get up and go to work. So I think my purpose, and I don't have good numbers around it right now, but I'm going to go with, I want to serve and build up Milwaukee-based businesses. And I'm trying not to blend it with the mission statement. That's why I asked the question earlier. But I want to build up Milwaukee-based businesses so that they can thrive and ultimately, I feel like they should get the support that they deserve, even if they're not a VC fundable firm. That's ultimately the part that pisses me off about the world. Milwaukee has tons of resources. If you're going to get venture capital and go and steal a bunch of money from people, you're good to go. If you're just a schmo looking to start a business and make an honest living, good luck. Have fun. And that bugs me.
So the lives that you serve are schmoes. Business schmoes. So you are targeting business schmoes. Is that
I am. That's it. I should be on my website. If you're a schmo, Brent wants to work with you.
But if we can elaborate on that, right? But that's an important piece. Those are the, the who do your, what lives, whose lives do you serve, right? Along that way. And it's, you want to service those that don't have access to venture capital, right?
Or don't need it, don't have access or don't need it. I mean, as you know, Brad, a lot of businesses are not VC. They're never going to be VC fundable. They don't fit into like the 0.1%.
Right.
But the fact that it's so small, I'm like, holy cow, there's a ton of businesses that employ a ton of people, and basically every place that you go to shop, eat, and drink doesn't take venture capital, can't take venture capital. They're not venture capital fundable with a very few exceptions. So who supports those businesses? And then we add to the layer of Milwaukee, and wanted to focus, there's an aspect of rehabilitation, rebuilding, and rejuvenating that I try and focus on.
So you had 3 R's there.
Alliteration just strung right out there.
Okay. So when you look at that last question, is my business and career bring meaning to my life and add value to others' lives by those 3 R's? Right?
Yep.
What were they again? Repurpose?
Rehabilitation, rebuilding, and rejuvenating.
Okay, so that's what we're going to get done. And you are serving Milwaukee, right?
Yep.
Milwaukee or M7. I always get very cautious about making sure you're not pigeonholing yourself to geographical territory that you couldn't expand upon. So I want to make sure that that's a thing with me in marketing.
So I would say my answer is if my use of Milwaukee offends you, then don't work with me. If you're okay with Milwaukee being an inclusive region, which it ultimately is, then you can work with me. So I'm okay leaving in the hands of the hire. If someone in Waukesha County is like, "Ooh, he said Milwaukee, I'm out." I'm like, "Fine, go pound sand." I'm okay with people going away because I think
you stay east of 124th Street, dude. You just stay there.
Right. I'm gonna drop down $100 bills, and you're gonna stop picking them up at Highway 100. So that's I'm okay with that. But I stick with the MKE. I mean, the region, I'm fine with the region, but I actually let the customer define it, and I'm curious to try it out. So I say Milwaukee small business coach. If that to you means that you stop on 60th Street as soon as you hit Wauwatosa, that's okay, because there's a mentality that I kind of don't want to deal with. If you understand that it's a regional issue, and that's a regional that you're still a suburb of Milwaukee, even frankly, if you're out in Econ Milwaukee, you're still a suburb of Milwaukee. I can still provide support in the area there. That's sort of I'm okay with that. And if it limits me, I think it actually there's some offsetting benefits in terms of regional pride where people are attracted to that quality instead.
Well, and it fits perfectly with what we talked about last month with Pat, right? It fits perfectly in that psychographic of your ideal client. It's not the demographic or geographic that is more like objective. The subjective aspect of it is that psychographic of, if you don't like the way I say that, then you're probably not my customer. So I actually 100% agree with you. I just want to make sure that that you've considered it when you went through, but obviously you have. So
yeah, well, but I like it because I actually do think it's M7, but like some people may not. But I like what you said. It's actually intended to be a psychographic limiter. It's not like I have to draw the lines and be like, sorry, my funding comes from the city and I can't serve you if you're outside the city. That's not how it works.
So who's the who though, right?
I would say the who is in business, Milwaukee focused, or Milwaukee entrepreneurs, Milwaukee region entrepreneurs, who are trying, basically they're building their business and not finding the profit that they were hoping for.
Is there a specific segment or industry or target other than just breathing?
That's honestly, that's still my struggle, figuring out how to dial down that customer.
Who do you like working with?
I love working with passionate entrepreneurs who are committed to improving their business.
Okay, in what
and I don't honestly, and I guess I evaluate that by committed means you're going to sit down and do some of the work that you focus on with the coach.
Absolutely. So, but is it in the B2C space, B2B space? Is it hairdressers? Is it salons? Is it restaurants? Is it car dealerships? Is it pizza places? Is it Chinese carryout?
These are all fair questions. My challenge is my portfolio spans a lot of that, not car dealerships. So it's going to be small. It's going to be 5 or less employees typically. Restaurants are always an anomaly because they have to hire a lot of services. They tend to be $1 million and less in revenue, so they're early. They tend to be solopreneurs. They always lack in, I'm gonna say, an executive team. So they're single decision makers, even if they're not a solo. They may not define themselves as a solopreneur because they have employees, but they're single decision makers. That they don't have a Lisa Rabel on. They don't even have a fractional Lisa Rabel on their team to be able to ask, what the heck do I do with marketing here? They're figuring it out. They tend to be it's really the email. They tend to be technicians that don't have a clue really how to build their business, but they're actually pretty good at their thing and are succeeding with their thing, but they're not able to really scale it well or scale it profitably to be successful. That's a spot where I provide a lot of value.
So it was rebuild,
Rehabilitate, rejuvenate. I literally made that up on the spot, so I'm okay jettisoning.
Rejuvenate. Okay. I couldn't read my own writing. So it's rehabilitate, it's rejuvenate, rebuild. So out of those three in sequence, when you go through your programming, how do they hit those?
You're asking me a lot of amazing questions. We evaluate. I think the first one you do is you rebuild, because typically your operation has reached some type of limit. It can be an early limit because you've got something built wrong in the organization. So that's step one, is we're going to figure out what's going on, and we're going to rebuild a piece. And then we're ultimately then going to work on really rehabilitating some mindset. There's some pieces that are stuck, things that we decide, well, I don't really like sales, and I'm like, well, then no one will buy from you. I mean, so there's some mindset pieces, there's some shifting that has to go on. And then ultimately, how do we take that and rejuvenate it with energy to say, now there's a rebuilt, refocused, rehabilitated business. Maybe refocus is better. But
I personally like the rejuvenate, because that's an exciting word, versus refocus means that I wasn't focused.
Yeah, fair enough.
And it's a positive forward moving message. It's a forward progress word. So I'm gonna agree with Brad on that one, because you want words that are gonna give them the confidence that you're gonna move them forward.
Yep.
Not just look back and fix whatever they did wrong. Like what are those forward moving words that are positive to get them where they want to go? Yeah.
Yep. Because now that if we've figured out where the broken systems were in the business, and we've kind of fixed some of the mental mind space problems that were there, now we can rejuvenate and move forward and start to accelerate into space where we can excel.
So would this potentially work? And I think we need to work on the back end of this, but so your purpose is to rebuild, rehabilitate, and rejuvenate Milwaukee's greatest entrepreneurs.
Whoa.
Nice.
I'm with you on the back end, but I'm not out on letting that sit there with people, because that's amazing, Brad. You're hired. Lisa, you can have them on your show.
So what I'm going to do is, okay, first of all, are we good with Brent and Brett? Are you good with kind of stopping there?
Yeah, because I think you found your purpose is to rebuild, rehabilitate, and rejuvenate the Milwaukee's, whatever that is on the backside, whether that is restaurateurs, whether that is, wherever that industry needs to go, or if it's going to be in an entrepreneur space, or it's going to be however you want to define solopreneurs. When we say small business owner, that gets very generic. I think you need to find that they will come from the left and right of center for you. Because you are Milwaukee's small business coach, you might just want to leave that Milwaukee small businesses. We rebuild, rejuvenate, and rebuild, rehabilitate, and rejuvenate Milwaukee's small businesses. That's your purpose. Plain and simple.
I'm putting it on the website today.
All right. Well done. Okay. So I'd like to take people everybody can take themselves off of mute right now. By having Brad walk through that with Brent, did that help you understand how to apply it to your own business? Like how those questions can be related specifically to you as a sole entrepreneur or the business that you run? Does anybody have any questions around that little workshop-y section that we just got done with? Does anybody have any specific questions regarding that? Just feel free to speak.
Bueller?
I don't know. Maybe Brad, you did such a great job. Nobody's got questions.
I doubt that, but that's okay. Thank you.
Okay. So what I like to do here is I like to do this is the last chance for open mic questions for anybody, question and answer section. If nobody wants to ask questions, then going once, going twice. Great. Then Brad, what are your, okay, EB, go.
So this was more in the values, I mean, on the purpose and mission. Maybe I am a little bit on the vision side, is where maybe it's just wording it, I do have the vision, but so it's still a little bit confusing, the vision with my mission. Or is it not needed because yes, I'm a small business, so I just don't.
Well, yeah, you're very because of it's whether it's Twill or whether it's the other side that you're doing from the larger leather industry side of it. It may be very important for Twill to have a vision that supports that larger industry goals and objectives to align with those partners that you are looking to facilitate with for either your services or brokeraging of their hides, etc. Possibly.
Okay.
I don't, for Twill itself, I don't know the vision is necessarily needed, but for Twill at the larger scale of being a sustainable leather resource at a global level, it may be more important to make sure we have a vision for
A
you.
vision. Okay. Well, yeah. Yes, maybe I get confused because I started pushing a lot the education and then kind of leave it in the side Twill. But now it's just integrating both to push it forward. Okay.
Right, because you're serving really two separate entities, two separate paths, and trying to roll them into one brand with Twill.
Yes. Okay.
And marrying those is part of the exercises that I think are going to be difficult to go through, which is some of the exercises I know you've been working on.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Brad, what are your like final thoughts? What is your like wrapping it up, putting a little bow on it, so for people can move forward with creating either their mission, their vision, their value, or their purpose statements? What is your words of encouragement?
Know your values, know your purpose, and be able to communicate them and articulate them every time you speak in some way, shape, or form. Right? Whether it's your centers of influence that you're having networking sessions with, whether it's people here in the IC to know what's going on, whether it's your customers or future employees, it is so important to be able to articulate those so everybody has an understanding of how to do business with you.
Okay, thank you so much. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody joining us this month for the Rebel workshop for sales and marketing. Next month, we're going to be, my guest is going to be Terrence Sartler of Terrence Sartler Consulting, or TikTok. It's About Time, depending upon how you know her. We're going to be talking about networking on purpose. Like, where are you supposed to show up? Where is your time, treasure, talent supposed to be to get the best thing out of your networking? And spoiler alert, it's not all about lead gen. So we're going to be talking about that on July 5th from 11 to 12. You don't have to come with your camera on. If you're too hungover to participate, that's fine. Just come listen from being the 4th of July celebrations. So the last thing I want to do is, again, thank Brad very much for his insights and his intel and his lovely way of presenting it. You do such a great job with it. I always stumble over my words when it comes to that, but it's so eloquent about like, this is what you do. Like, all right, moving on. So thank you, Brad, very much for everything. And I'd like to thank Quick Trip and Bank 59 for being sponsors of the Idea Collective. Again, not sure where we'd be without you. So until next time, have a great month and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.